Hello and welcome to the show. We have another old versus new rivalry for you today. This time it is between the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento and the TVR Cerbera Speed 12. Now, for those of you who watch Top Gear, you will have seen last week that they had this car on the show. It is a fantastic looking thing. It's possibly one of the coolest looking cars I have ever seen. It looks like a stealth fighter. It's an incredibly fantastic looking car. Statistics wise, it is also pretty damn impressive. 562 horsepower, and the car only weighs 2,600 pounds. That is very lightweight for a car of this sort, especially considering this is four-wheel drive. In a sense, this is a Lamborghini Gallardo, just a much lighter. It is sort of, lightness was an obsession a bit with this car. As you can see inside, the seats are really just sort of padded cushions to kind of fit into the frame. It really is incredibly light for the sort of car that it is. However, when we are talking of lightness, the TVR certainly wins that battle. This car weighs 2,150 pounds. That is getting on towards Lotus Elise sort of weight. That's pretty mental when you consider the engine in this thing. Forza and TVR themselves claim that this has 800 horsepower. In reality though, nobody actually knows how much it produced. TVR put it on a dyno. It's a dyno that was rated to 1,000 horsepower, and the car broke the dyno. When TVR tested each individual bank on the engine, they reckoned there was 480 each, so theoretically it could have 960 horsepower, it could have more, nobody really knows. This was intended to be a competitor for the McLaren F1. Top speed wise, it certainly is. This could hit around 240 miles an hour. However, as far as being a road car, well, when the chief, I think it's the chief of TVR, who was an ex-racing driver himself, drove one of these home, he deemed it far too dangerous, far too powerful, and the project was cancelled. In the end, the TVRs ended up becoming GT2 race cars, I think. They were fairly successful, but in typical TVR fashion weren't very reliable. There is still one in existence that is a road-going version, with a slightly detuned ECU and milder cams that has about 880 horsepower. The TVRs are an insane car, but can it really keep up with the far more technologically advanced Lamborghini? Daniel is driving the Lamborghini. Unfortunately, he can't be with me to do the recording here because of technical issues. But yes, off the line, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be fairly straightforward for the Lamborghini, as it is four-wheel drive. 0 to 60 takes something like 2.5 seconds. So yeah, the launch is not really surprising. However, the Lamborghini got to about 140 feet, at which point the TVR, sort of the superior power of the TVR, kind of kicks in. Now, I missed the first corner completely, which was really clever of me, so I have now fallen a fair bit behind. So let's talk briefly about the Lamborghini. When it comes to handling, and when it comes to driving cars, neither me nor Daniel really like four-wheel drive. Okay, they're normally a bit too understeery, a bit too heavy. However, this Sesto Elemento is an exception. It is a fantastic handling car. It's really hard to describe it. It is one of the better of the four-wheel drive cars. It's just almost safe. It's very easy to drive this thing fast because the four-wheel drive system means you're not going to go sideways out at the exit of the corner. There can be a little bit of understeer through some of the higher speed corners, but that's kind of inevitable. But it does stay planted on the track very well as it goes through the tyre wall. Yeah, it is a very quick car. And of course, as far as looks go, admittedly the TVR is very purple and stands out. I don't think you can really get much better looking than this Lamborghini. Daniel goes a little bit wide, there's a little bit of airtime through there. Not the perfect driving. But yeah, it's a nice car to drive. It's easier than I was expecting to drive. The brakes on it are phenomenal. They are very good brakes, which is useful when you're being chased down by an insanely fast TVR. It can go sideways if you really push it with a Lamborghini, but it is a fairly safe car to drive. The TVR is pretty much the exact opposite of everything the Lamborghini is. It has got phenomenal straight line speed. I mean, okay, the Hennessy Venom is going to be faster than it accelerating, but other than that, not much will keep up with this thing. Maybe the Ultimate Era. The TVR is incredibly fast. Brakes are, well, good. I mean, just look at the speed here. This just drives past the Lamborghini, and that Lamborghini is not a slow car. The brakes on it are good, but they're just not up to the standard of the Lamborghini. And that's to do with the age of the car, really. Handling in the corners is scary. As I said, there is no wing, there is no diffuser, there is sort of a front splitter, I think. in its rear wheel drive, and there's a lot of horsepower to be dumped out of the rear wheels in a car that doesn't weigh very much. So it's pretty much wanting to go sideways everywhere. We've always said that if you want to learn throttle control, drive a V8 supercar, because they are incredibly tricky to drive. I would say this is probably trickier because it's more powerful, less weight and less aero. Of course, as you can see, as they go around the corners, the Lamborghini is a little bit faster. It can put the power down earlier out of the corners. However, the minute the TVR can put any power down, it is gone. And he's going a little bit of autocross there. Never mind. Sorry, rallycross. What am I talking about? Yeah, we come down towards the second to last corner. It's an interesting car to drive, the TVR. It's kind of one of those cars that's so scary to drive, it's kind of fun. Some more rallycross going on there. It is really not an easy car to drive compared to the Lamborghini, which, okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world to drive. It is still a big, powerful supercar, but yeah, you can drive that a lot easier. Daniel pretty much explained the Lamborghini, or explained these two very well. The TVR, you can kind of predict what the TVR is going to do because it's unpredictable. You can predict that it's going to want to go sideways everywhere. I guess that could kind of be predictable, but you can guess that the TVR is going to be unpredictable. The Lamborghini is fairly predictable. It is fairly well behaved for probably 80% of the time. However, there is that 20% of the time when you push things a little bit too hard, and then the Lamborghini does weird things. It's kind of hard to describe, but when you're really pushing the Lamborghini, it will have those moments where it just decides to let go, or just understeers a little bit too much, and that can be a little bit of a pain. It can make it very hard to race these things. But yeah, as we come up to, I think this is the final corner of the final lap, or final couple of corners on the final lap. Daniel tries to have a lunge, as he normally does there. Managed to get the cut back, and there we are going to go across the line. Very close race between these two cars. Now, of course, we are sort of slightly different drivers, so to get a completely fair comparison, we've handed both cars over to the Stig to see what kind of lap times he can get out of them. Now, off the line, acceleration-wise, we know the Lamborghini is going to be faster, so by the time it gets to the first corner, it's going to have a fairly decent lead. Expectation-wise, well, these should rival the Hennessy Venom. These are a couple of the cars that potentially could beat the Venom. They are both around mid-R3. I think there's about 10-14 PI, or maybe a little bit more than that, between the two of them. They are going to be quick. Which one of the two of them wins is going to be an interesting one. As we said, the Lamborghini is a safer bet, it's got better brakes, it is better through the corners. However, the TVR is much faster in a straight line if you can keep it together. As we exit out the hammerhead, surprisingly there is no sideways stuff there from the TVR, which is unusual. The Lamborghini, of course, is looking very composed. Through the follow-through and coming up to the tyre wall, it is very scary in that TVR. It is incredibly scary through there. You cannot go flat out through the tyre wall. Past the tyre wall in the TVR. There we go. I will remember the cars because it just doesn't have the levels of grip, whereas you can in the Lamborghini. As they come around the final corner, it is very close between the pair of them, and there they are across the line. Now, I will point out there is potential that those videos might not have quite been synced up correctly. I believe they are as close as I could get them anyway. So, it is on to the lap times. We saw that it was very close between the pair of them. Have they managed to beat the Hennessy Venom, though? Well, no, they didn't quite do it. The TVR got a 1:11.3. The Lamborghini got a 1:11.6. Both of them are incredibly fast times, but they're not quite as good as the Hennessy. That's actually a little bit of a surprise to me. I thought the TVR might be able to displace the Hennessy because the TVR is slightly less scary in the corners than the Venom. The Lamborghini, I was actually impressed how well the Lamborghini kept up with the TVR around there. So there we go. Unfortunately, we do not have a new leader on our leaderboard. Now, I will just say now, our leaderboard is rather huge and we cannot fit it all on the screen, so I shall put a link in the description to our forums where you can see the leaderboard in all its entirety. I think there's about 60 odd cars that we have had around our track. Now, before we go, I will leave you with footage. This is Stig on one of his practice laps with the TVR. This is coming through the follow-through, and now we're going to go through the tyre wall. This is why you can't take the tyre wall flat out. That is 140 miles an hour, and oh dear, it's all gone wrong. He spun it and tries to recover it. It may have had another little spin. Yeah, the TVR is terrifying through that corner. It just doesn't quite have the rear downforce. If this car had a rear wing on it, it would probably have beaten the Venom. Maybe we'll have to try that at some point. But I honestly reckon if there's a bit more rear downforce on this TVR, it could probably challenge the Venom. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As ever, if you have rivalries or kind of old versus new rivalries you would like to see us do, please leave them in the comment section. We will have a look through and we will pick our favourites. Also, don't worry, Star and SD Car will hopefully be back soon. We haven't forgotten about it. It's just quite hard organising everybody. So I want to carry on doing it. But it is a nightmare to organise, so hopefully that'll be back next week, possibly. I can't really say at the moment. However, that is everything for today, so until next time, goodbye.